Welcome back to UK Senior Insights, your trusted source for breaking updates on pensions, benefits, and senior living in the United Kingdom. Today we're covering a story that is striking right at the heart of independence for millions of pensioners, carers, and people living with disabilities. It's about the future of the Blue Badge scheme, a system that for decades has meant far more than just a parking permit. For many, it has been nothing short of a lifeline, a small piece of plastic that translates directly into dignity, freedom, and the ability to live independently. But as of June 22 ND, 2025, the Department for Work and Pensions, working closely with local authorities, has confirmed significant updates that could reshape how pensioners qualify for and renew their blue badges. And for those who rely on the scheme every single day, these changes are causing anxiety, questions, and in some cases, genuine fear about what this means for the future. To truly understand the importance of what's happening, let's pause and reflect on what the Blue Badge actually represents. For an older citizen, perhaps a 78-year-old widow in Cornwall, it isn't just about being able to park closer to a supermarket. It's about being able to get out of the house, attend medical appointments without worrying about walking long distances, and stay connected to family, friends, and the community. For carers looking after someone with dementia, or for a disabled pensioner managing arthritis or COPD, the badge can be the difference between being trapped at home and living a life of dignity. When rules around something so essential shift even slightly, it's understandable that people across the country are deeply concerned. So what exactly has changed? The heart of the update lies in something called the reassessment process. Until now, the rules have been fairly straightforward. If you received certain disability benefits, such as the higher mobility component of disability living allowance, or specific awards under personal independence payment, you were automatically entitled to a blue badge. That automatic entitlement is now being reviewed, and in some areas, it's already being piloted that claimants will need to go through a more detailed mobility assessment before their badge can be renewed. The government argues this isn't about taking away support, but about making the system fairer and more targeted. They point to sharply rising numbers of applications in the last decade as evidence that demand is outpacing resources. In Birmingham, Manchester, and Newcastle, councils reported record numbers of applications in 2024, with waiting lists stretching into months. Officials say this shows how vital the scheme is, but also raises concerns about misuse and inconsistency between regions. Their solution: harmonize criteria across the country, standardize the process, and introduce more detailed assessments to ensure that only those in genuine need receive the badge. But let's bring this down to the ground level. Imagine a pensioner in Leeds who has had a blue badge for 12 years. She has severe arthritis, struggles to walk more than a few yards, and has always qualified automatically. This year, she receives a letter telling her that her automatic entitlement no longer applies. She must now submit new medical evidence, attend a mobility assessment, and wait for a decision from her council. Suddenly, something she has relied on for over a decade becomes uncertain. For someone on a fixed pension income, already managing bills, prescriptions, and daily living costs, the stress of dealing with more paperwork and long waits can feel overwhelming. And she's not alone. A man in his 80s from Bristol recently described his worry when told his renewal would not be automatic. He would have to prove his continuing eligibility, despite his mobility worsening over time. For pensioners, the very idea of having to justify again and again what they live with daily can feel demeaning. And yet this is the reality many are now facing. Another major update is the duration of blue badges. 4 years, badges have been issued for 3-year terms, with renewals being relatively straightforward. Starting later this year, however, some councils will have the option to issue badges for shorter durations, sometimes as little as 18 months, particularly where conditions are expected to change. For someone with a degenerative illness, this could mean more frequent renewals, more fees, and more anxiety. Imagine an 80-year-old woman relying on her badge for weekly shopping trips, suddenly facing the need to reapply every 18 months instead of every 3 years. For those with modest pensions, say £8,500 per year, even the small application fee adds up when combined with rising council tax, energy bills, and everyday expenses. The government is also cracking down hard on misuse. Fraudulent use of blue badges has long been a concern, with stories of relatives using badges when the holder isn't present. Under the new rules, councils will have stronger enforcement powers. Fines can now reach up to £1,000 for misuse, and more spot checks are being rolled out in busy town centres. For genuine holders, this might not seem like a direct threat, but it does create anxiety about accidental misuse. Pensioners lending their car to a family member, for example, may need to carefully explain the rules to avoid falling foul of the law. The Department for Work and Pensions message is clear: the badge is strictly for the holder's direct benefit, and any other use could lead to penalties. There's also a bigger policy push happening here. Officials are encouraging pensioners to shift more towards public transport and community transport services. They argue that with investment in accessible buses and trains, fewer people should need blue badges for short trips. But pensioners are already pointing out that this advice feels out of touch with reality. In rural areas, bus routes have been cut back. Trains are unreliable. And for those with serious mobility issues, even walking to a bus stop can be a major challenge. One 70-year-old in Cornwall explained that her blue badge is the difference between attending her weekly church service and staying isolated at home. Public transport, for her, simply isn't a realistic option. This highlights something officials often overlook: the emotional impact of losing independence. That can't be measured with tick boxes or assessment forms, but it's what many pensioners fear most. The timeline for these changes is moving quickly. Local councils are set to begin rolling out new guidance from October 2025. That means pensioners will start to experience these new rules within months. If your blue badge is due for renewal late this year or early next year, you could be among the first to feel the effects. Charities like Age UK and Citizens Advice are urging pensioners to prepare now. Gather your medical evidence, keep records of mobility challenges, and respond promptly to any renewal notices. Missing deadlines could mean weeks without a badge, leaving vulnerable people unable to access designated parking, attend hospital appointments, or do essential shopping. There's also the issue of digital applications. By late 2025, digital systems will become the default. Councils say this will streamline the process, but it raises serious concerns about older pensioners who don't use computers or smartphones. While paper forms will remain available, the expectation is that most applications will move online. This risks disadvantaging the nearly 4 million pensioners in the UK who lack regular internet access. Unless safeguards are put in place, many could face delays or even exclusions simply because they are not comfortable with technology. So what does all of this mean for the future of the Blue Badge scheme? On paper, the changes are about fairness, sustainability, and protecting the system from abuse. But for pensioners living this reality, it feels like another hurdle, another layer of bureaucracy standing between them and their independence. The balance is delicate. Protecting the scheme is important, but not at the cost of making life harder for those who genuinely need it. What's clear is that pensioners and their families need to stay informed. Check with your local council, gather your documents early, and don't delay your renewals. If you're struggling with the new processes, seek support from Age UK, Citizens Advice, or local pensioner forums. And most importantly, don't suffer in silence. These changes affect millions, and the more people speak out, the more councils and the government will be pressured to ensure the system remains accessible, fair, and humane. At its core, the Blue Badge scheme has always been about more than parking. It's about freedom, dignity, and connection. And even with these 2025 changes, it remains one of the most valuable supports available to pensioners in the United Kingdom. But to protect it, and to protect your independence, staying informed and prepared is absolutely vital. Thank you for joining us here on UK Senior Insights. If you found this update helpful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends, family, or anyone you know who relies on the Blue Badge scheme. Together, by staying informed and prepared, we can ensure that